Hello, everybody. My name is Daniel Tickle, and I am the host here with The Final Contender. This is a couple of days after the completion of the second major tournament in the 2024 Webcam Circuit, where I placed 7th in Swiss and 2nd after top cuts with my Evil King Ghidorah deck. So, I want to bring you a deck list, a deck profile, give you some thoughts, and look at what I may change up in the future. For any that wishes to see this further, I will be bringing, almost certainly, I will be bringing King Ghidorah to Atlanta for the third major regionals here in the United States here at the beginning of October. So, first off, why did I choose King Ghidorah? The main thing in this case, there's a few different reasons. The big one is I was wanting to do a deck that I had some experience with, that I enjoy, and I think that this is a fairly decent choice in the meta when you are looking at having to deal with Smiling Titan. Because of some of the cards that I'll go over here in a bit, it takes a good amount of effort for a Smiling deck to outright kill King Ghidorah. And at the very minimum, it requires you to be hit by 3 separate attacks, where from other people, it may only be 2 attacks needed. So it's at least 33% more difficult to kill King Ghidorah. In truth, King Ghidorah is probably closer to 40 or even 50 health at the end, depending on how you play the character. Making as much use with the heads as possible. As I go through some of these cards, I will read the abilities off of. Some I will not, as I think needs for the discussion. Let's look at his main things first. So King Ghidorah, which I have done another deck profile previously. This is sort of an evolution of that. It is a 6 hand size, 10 health character, and effectively they have 3 heads. Every time they drop to 0 health, one of the heads is removed, and they go back up to 10 health, and then if they have no heads, they lose the game. Unless you seal King Ghidorah basically never dies, he always just retreats, which is some nice bit of lore there. The 10 health is ultimately one of the big strong suits of the deck, truthfully, because there's a number of cards in the deck which trigger off 10 health in a very synergistic way. His enhance is that he can commit, he removes a card from his hand, you choose an attack or foundation in your discard pile and you remove it, and that can be played at any point during this turn. So, with that said, this is on the evil symbol. This has a few things from the death symbol that are attuned because of attack on Titan, but this is the evil symbol. Let's go ahead and start with let's do the foundations first. So, I'm running a full playset of both Relentless Challenger and Unmatched Quickness. These are, in my mind, effectively the actual enhance abilities of the character. They both say if you have 10 or less health, you either get plus or minus 1 damage, plus or minus 1 speed for every attack. Relentless Challenger is a 2 diff with a 6 check, and deflect 2, which actually came up a number of times during the tournament. Whereas Unmatched Quickness is simply a 1 diff. So we're running a full playset of these. If you're playing King Ghidorah on Evil or Void, you should be running a full playset of both, just straight up. Incubating, similarly on Evil and Void, I'm only running 3 copies of this in the deck, but you remove a card from your discard pile to give this attack -1 speed. This means that very commonly you can remove a card to trigger combined firepower, or you can remove one of your foundations that can be built from the removed from game pile. So if you're playing this, don't hesitate on an attack you know is going to fail to incubate one of these foundations to be able to play it from your discard pile effectively. If it's going to fail, it's going to fail. Or on some attacks, if they're really slow, one speed is not going to make any difference in the end on them blocking. I've only got a single 0 diff in the deck. It's surviving the final just for more defense, and it's a high block. I'm running 2 copies of Settling Old Debt for card draw. I found that I don't need as much. Settling Old Debt most commonly was used to draw a card on the opponent's turn, allowing me to then remove it to get what I wanted from King Ghidorah. That was the most common cause of this. I'm only running a couple because it is surprising how frequent you end up in a situation where you need it and they just don't have the foundation. So there are a few other things that let you draw or get out, play out of the discard pile. So 2 seems to be pretty good. Incompatible Quirks is an incredible foundation. You have to keep it. If you commit it, you can't ready it during the ready step, but committing for -2 speed and Tenacious removing a foundation to ready it. Even if it's ready, you can remove it if you want to trigger combined firepower, which is one of the more common uses. Battle for Dominance is one of these card draw mechanics. You flip it on the arrival's turn to remove a card in the card pool and then draw a card. This does not trigger combined firepower, but I mean, it's card draw nonetheless. I am running 2 copies of Cooperation Offer. So Cooperation Offer is basically 4 foundations on defense for all intents and purposes. And it's just a solid card. Additionally, it has the enhance effect, which is used less commonly, of committing after the card has been played from your discard pile or removed from game pile to get 2 extra damage. It has come up a few times where this has mattered, so it's good to keep this in mind. Defying Fate is simply speed hate. It's a spam foundation with a low block and speed hate. The adding it to momentum never ended up coming up. It never did. 1 copy of Mastermind's Apprentice. This is in there for either speed bonus or speed hate. It's sort of a second copy of Incompatible Quirks, but allows me to have both in play at the same time. Galactic Monster is the first of the 2 foundations that you can play from your remove from game pile. It does have the text commit for damage, which is very relevant, especially if they're 10 or more, you commit for 4 damage. 1 copy of Relaxed Demeanor. So I'm only running 1 copy of this. Sometimes I'll have an extra copy in the sideboard, but 1 copy seems to be sufficient. Just going through your deck and finding one of the attacks that you want to put in your discard pile so you can play it with King Ghidorah. 1 is pretty decent. Polite and Well Spoken is your spam 6-check foundation that plays from the removed from game pile. Fighting for Control is one of the ways to fight against these big Titan attacks. So on the second turn, they play it, you give them -2 to the check, and they simply fail it. If they happen to have another, well, you've at least gotten rid of one of them. Sins of the Past is in here as one of the death attuned cards. Its main its main job is to get rid of stuff in the opponent's discard pile you don't want. So Riskies or against Toga, you have Deception Daggers, combined firepowers against the opponent. Play it, then sacrifice it, draw some cards, play it again. If you need to play it every turn, at least it has on its own face the ability to sacrifice itself. Fruit of Our Labors is a 1-of in the deck. It has a deadlock, which is rarely used, truthfully. The main reason this is there is so that if you have blocked with stuff, you can get rid of it to play a combined firepower from the discard pile. Frequently, if you have your third combined firepower in the discard pile and you block with 2, put 2 in the discard pile and then play 1 from the discard pile, again, just to cycle it further. A gift return is something that I threw in the deck a while back, and I keep going back in and putting in. This has actually been very effective, if I'm completely honest. At the high block, that gets me either a +3 mid-block 6 check, or a +2 mid-block 6 check deflect 2 cards. Flip it, grab a Relentless Challenger, either play it or use it to block or use it for deflect. The last 2 foundations I have in the deck is 2 copies of Invincible Body and 2 copies of Dissolving the Conflict. This is more anti-Smiling Titan tech. They attack with a big attack. You sit there and you pause. If it's slow enough, then you simply don't use Invincible Body, and you wait for them to enhance, and then use Invincible Body and drop it to 0 damage. If they don't, you just block. Hey, without the +3 +4 speed, it's frequently a lot easier to block these. Dissolving the Conflict says you commit out to play your big attack, put it back in your hand, you commit all those foundations for no reason. The fact that it is usable every time is very good, and it is being able to play the ones you check every turn makes this very, very efficient at staving off death in the first few turns. So, 40 foundations in total, and if we look at the difficulties, let's see here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We are just over 50% spam foundations, with the rest of them being 2 checks and then 2 different 3 difficulties. Let's move on to the attacks. So the attack package is fairly straightforward for the first. I'm running 3 combos of Tri-Gravity Beam. You could bump this up to 4, but I found 3 is sufficient. It is a 4 diff. It has a 1 high block. It has Deadlock Stun 3. That has come up more than once. You can destroy a foundation, which is good if you have a foundation that is flipped. Note that you don't have to have this as your third attack to destroy a foundation. You can simply play it as your first, destroy a face-down foundation, and then use Ghidorah's ability to play it from your discard pile. So if you need to unflip something, this is a way to do that. As the third attack, though, this lets you rip cards out of their hand. And it's basically always a 4 mid, 4 7, assuming nothing else is going on. Sword of the Darkness Flame is in Ghidorah. It is a 4 mid, 5, stun 1, draw 1, gain a health with a 1 low block. This card is just bread and butter. You're going to play 4 of these. True 100% Unleashed. Now, I used to run less copies of this. However, with the prevalence of massive attacks, high speed, being able to guarantee a block, even if it is a half block, is very good. Don't hesitate to use the ability and remove it, even if it removes it, even if you could pass the check normally, if it is going to be too expensive to pass the check. There's 4 in the deck. Just do it. Alright, first tech card, 1 Villainous Teamwork. In regular play, 1's all you really need. And if you watch any of the streams, if you called any of them, one of the things you typically do is your opponent has a cape out, so they're gonna remove 1 of your attacks. Attack with something you don't care about, like a Attack Titan Emerges, for instance. something that they do not want to spend the cape on. Then you proceed to use King Ghidorah to remove it and say, this is going to be the next attack. This forces them to either play the cape or lose it. They don't play the cape, you play the villainous teamwork, you destroy it. If they do, you play a different attack, and you save the villainous teamwork for later, being able to take full advantage of its ability to play from progressive difficulty with no progressive difficulty. So it doesn't have the highest stats, but it's in there just for momentum hate. Aside from cape, being able to eat up the item boxes, which is really good when you have a 200% unleashed, being able to get rid of the vertical maneuvering equipment when you're facing off against a Ryukyu. Very, very critical in my mind. I'm running 2 copies of the Attack Titan Emerges. So the Attack Titan Emerges is a 3 diff with a 1 low block that has a response to sacrifice a foundation, and then you build a foundation from your discard pile with a difficulty less than the sacrifice card's difficulty. So we turn the invincible body into anything. We turn 2 diff stuff like a galactic monster into, a unmatched quickness. So one of the things that you could do is to take a committed 2 diff, turn it into a ready 1 diff. If you have a galactic monster, you destroy it, turn it to a 1 diff, use incubating to remove it to give this -1 speed, because the difference between 2 speed and 1 speed is nothing. And then you just play it out. And if they don't block it, it's 3 damage. This is there to block with and then to effectively rebuild. It's important because it's a 3 diff, because Fierce Wings will pick it up, which I'll discuss in a moment. Patchwork Baby is a card that I've really grown to love. It is a great opener with its stun 2. It is a great finisher with its ability to get damage from all of the attacks in your card pool. More than once, I would attack with a couple of things and then attack with Patchwork Baby. Even with no momentum, let's say you had 4 other different keywords in your card pool, this becomes a 5 mid stun 2 for 9 damage. If you happen to have an EX3, it's a 9 mid for 9, or what have you. Patchwork Baby is very good. It is very susceptible to runaway, since it has a 1 base damage. But even with that in place, I think it's still worth it. With the EX3 and Powerful 3, this is a great card. So this is one of the new cards I'm trying out on the deck. To be honest, this is the first time I've run the deck with these cards in it, with these attacks in it. So this spot, 3 of these and like 1 other, used to be 4 copies of Vile Seizing. However, these days I've gotten to the point where, at least in King Ghidorah, Vile Seizing is simply a 3 diff, a 3 high for 4 damage with stun 2, maybe? Or it's a 3 high for 6 damage with draw a card. It's not a great ability. Sometimes the deadlock would come into play, but it's not consistent enough to really feel good, if I'm being honest. So I decided to try something different. Flurry of Punches was the card I decided to try. So this is in King Ghidorah, it's a 4 mid for 6 damage with Charge Punch and EX2. The EX2 is actually very good. It comes about more often than you think. And then it has Enhance. Your next attack gets +2 difficulty, and it gets +3/+3. This effectively in this deck feels like it is what's the best way to say this? If you have a Vile Seizing, which is a 3 high for 6, and you draw an attack, this is a 4 mid for 6. Vile draws a random attack. This is effectively drawing a guaranteed attack, but it's more than that, because the 3/3 on something like Tri-Gravity Beam makes it much more likely to land. So And adding 2 difficulty to this isn't horrible. Adding 2 difficulty to a Attack Titan Emerges to make it a 5 low for 6. Not a horrible option. So I'm actually really liking Flurry of Punches. I may drop it down to 2 of to free up another toolbox slot, but I'm definitely going to be keeping 2 of them in the deck. My other favorite target for Flurry of Punches was Risky Encounter. So the attack line that I would like is you attack with something, play a Flurry of Punches from the discard pile, give it bonuses, play a Risky Encounter from the discard pile. It is at that point a 5 difficulty, 7 high, 7, stun 1 that gets extra damage based off of being lower than the opponent. Now, it is sometimes Risky doesn't feel good to play, and there is something to be said for the fact that King Ghidorah really needs to have a stage to function well. He needs to have a lot of foundations. But if you need to kill the opponent, if they need to go down, don't hesitate to throw this out, even if it's just going to be at a 4 damage. So, attack with something, Flurry from the discard pile, Risky from the discard pile, build a couple of foundations out after that, and do it turn after turn after turn. I think 2 is the right number. I don't think I'd go more than that, but it has definitely been worth it having a couple of these in the deck. Also, if you draw no attacks, this can be your starter to let you play something from the discard pile. Very important. Jaw Titan Attacks is the last attack in the deck. This is sort of another toolbox slot, and this is there for mainly because I thought that Ymir was going to be more prevalent. I did play against one Ymir player, and being able to say, if you don't attack this, you won't be able to use your ability, definitely helps. It's also just simply a 6 low 6. Most of these attacks are mid, and we have 1 high and then a couple of lows. So it is the case that this deck typically gets damage in more frequently by exhausting their cards than it does by going around. But being able to throw a good damage high or low in the deck is pretty solid. Also, getting 2 health on the attack and just playing this every turn, just gaining the health is real good. This might move into the sideboard, and I might put something else in the main board in that spot. I'm sort of at the moment trying to think through that. But this is effectively one of the toolbox slots. I'm running for this deck. I'm currently running 2 assets. 1 copy of Airy, which basically says if you have a momentum, you have another head. It's just good. And then vertical maneuvering equipment. So, in theory, this card is really good in the deck. With that said, however, I can't think, but maybe one time I used the card. I'm not getting momentum sufficiently out enough that I want to spend on something other than Patrick Baby or Flurry of Punches. Patrick Baby being the main one. So, I've actually, in my next rendition of this, I've removed vertical maneuvering equipment from the deck. It may go back in, but at the moment, I have replaced it with a 4th combined firepower. So, 3 or 4, I think, will either work perfectly fine. This is blocking from the discard pile. It's extra damage from the discard pile. It's got its face. You got to play it. Fierce Wings. This card is incredible. So, as a hand trap, if your opponent stuns something like Toga or destroys something like Reiner, you go get a foundation, whether it's the same one or a different one. It's just good. or you use it to go get something out of the discard pile, be it a 3-diff attack that you can block with, or a foundation that you want to block with. And since it removes own cost, it will trigger combined firepower. Very good. And even if you fail the check, because you're doing this as an enhance and you're removing as part of the cost, it will still trigger combined firepower. Similarly, Barrier Shield. Barrier Shield is another one of these cards to help you out against the massive damage decks. And if you have combined firepower in the discard pile, use it, set their speed to 0, remove it, respond with combined firepower, and block effectively on a 3 difficulty with Breaker 2. Very good. Sometimes using the ability to prevent card draw can be very, very good. I haven't actually. It is basically never used for that. It's an emergency sort of thing, but it's basically never used. Keep in mind when you block with it, though, that it does say that it does not count towards progressive difficulty. So you can block with it, and just like the combined firepower, it no progressive. So it's very good. So, for the sideboard, my thought was going to be I was going to be having to deal with Rhiners. I was going to have to be dealing with Smiling Titans, and I would have to deal with Ryukyu. So, with that in mind, my sideboard is 2 more copies of Fierce Wings to deal with things that destroy your foundations, 2 more copies of Barrier Shield, and 2 more copies of Dissolving the Conflict to deal with Smiling Titan's massive stuff. 3 copies of Villainous Teamwork. This is in there so that if I ran across a Ryukyu that is running 4 copies of Vertical Maneuvering Equipment, I can very quickly be guaranteed to pull it out and be able to just continually destroy their equipment. Going forward, I'm going to drop this to 2 in the side. I think I still want to have 3 in the deck, but I'm going to drop this to 2 in the side. I might move Jaw Titan into the sideboard, and then that would open up this as another toolbox slot. Finally, I'm running 1 copy of Maximum Overhaul. So I've got a number of things that flip themselves, and sometimes it's just simply good to be able to get those back. If you're running across a character that does a lot of flipping as well, this can actually be pretty strong. Against a Reiner, you can, if they don't destroy the foundations on their turn, you play it, put them back in from the discard pile. You put it back, well, in this case, remove from game pile using Ghidorah's ability, or you just play it straight up and you play Combined Firepower from the discard pile, but you take 3 of your face downs, you put them in your hand, you play them again. That's what it's there for. I ended up playing against Scott and his Mirio deck, and playing cooperation offers, and I sort of wish that I was able to man, it's a few days later and I can't remember. Think that Maximum Overhaul allowed me to pick them up and play them again. But that's the main reason for it in the deck. It's actually been pretty solid. If I am not facing someone that I need the health from, I would generally put this in place of Jaw Titan when I'm siding in. So, that is the deck. Now, I will say, this deck is... It is so you have to be someone who has the right mindset. As any of my friends will tell you, I got a twisted mind. Really, I mean, let's be honest. Someone who plays this, there's not, there's something not right with me here, of course. But all joking aside, this requires doing a lot of math and a lot of thinking, balancing a constant balancing act between your stage, discard pile, remove from game pile, and in some cases even your deck. You have to know where things are at, You have to be willing to throw things away to tempt the opponent out. Because Ghidorah's ability commits him, you're going to be constantly going between defensive mode and shifting gears back into offense, and then shifting gears back into defense, depending on what you draw and the state of the board. So at the end of the day, when I was playing the final, I was exhausted. Both of us were tired, but I'll tell you, at the end of that, I just wanted it to be done. It was a great match, and I had a lot of fun. But yeah, so this learning the deck requires a lot of repetitions. You have to play it a lot, and I would even recommend, if you want to start learning this kind of deck with King Ghidorah in general, get in the habit of periodically just do some fish bowling. Just sit as you're watching television next to a coffee table, pull your deck out and just play the first four rounds out, shuffle them up, do it again, alternate between going first, going second, learn the lines, get familiar with what the deck will and will not do, and it takes a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. But I like King Ghidorah. I will admit that for a lot of people, it is not fun to play against, but that can be the same thing said of a lot of decks. A lot of people don't like to play this style of deck, which is perfectly fine. I love the character. I love the deck style. The other main one I play is Overhaul. So I like these types of decks where I am playing things outside of the normal range. So in this case, playing from the removed, from the discard pile, effectively bouncing back and forth. It's just right up my alley. And I think that with Reiner getting eroded and Mikasa getting eroded, that Ghidorah is in a good spot in the meta. Also, being able to effectively block something every turn with a perfect block, being able to get the full benefit out of these 10 health cards. It's a great deck. I definitely like it. So, yeah, those are sort of my thoughts. Like I said, I think I'm going to. I've removed this. I'm going to drop this up to 4. We're going to move this into the side, drop this down to a 2, and I think I'm going to put in something else for this. I only own one copy of the Jaw Titan, which is why I was only one of originally in the deck, and I think one's probably sufficient with the amount of milling. But let me know what you think. Do you enjoy the deck? Are there changes that you would make? Is there any cool tech for King Ghidorah that I've missed that you think might be worth adding into the deck? Let me know your thoughts and there. In the end, this took me to 2nd place for the webcam tournament, which means in the end, I was your final contender. And that's kind of appropriate. So, hope you all have enjoyed. Thanks for listening. I'll have a great day.